Hi, this is Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, and I had the chance to catch up with my friend Toby Cory right on the coast in Santa Cruz. Toby is an entrepreneur, an innovator, and a surfer, and he knows how Blue Mind makes his life better. So let's listen to our conversation. It was totally amazing. Let's start out with a simple question. What's your water? What's your go-to water, the water that you're in love with?
That's an easy question. It's here in Santa Cruz. I call Santa Cruz a place where the universe touches our planet. The energy level here is extraordinary, as it is in a lot of places, but this is clearly my go-to water.
You've had really, truly an epic life and an epic career in technology and as an entrepreneur and as just a big idea guy with sort of a resume of success that would leave just about anybody on the planet kind of in awe. But what I want to talk about is your insights into well-being and lifestyle. Tell us Toby's perfect day. Tell us that story. How does that begin and how does that go?
I do view myself as someone who deeply believes in life is whatever you want to make of it. And there's literally no boundaries to what you can do. I grew up with a learning disability. I always struggled in school, hated school. It absolutely had an impact on my confidence. However, I had this deep belief in that I'm going to sort of shelter myself from all the naysayers, all the negativity. You're not smart enough, you're not going to the right school, you're not getting the right grades, and had the centeredness. And I believe a lot of that was really around this concept of the water and nature. I just always deeply believe that whatever you want to accomplish in life, you can do that. So, and it's funny, I'm going on my 8th year teaching at Stanford. Like if you doubled my SAT scores, I wouldn't get into there as an undergraduate student, right? Anything's possible. And the most perfect day, to answer your question directly, is rolling out of bed, the tide is low, the water's really glassy, I load my surfboard up, I'll head to Pleasure Point or up the county line, and then I get into the water, my entire world changes. That's my Zen. And that opportunity to be there, I'm in awe. So there's all this life, there's this energy flowing around me of micro life, sea otters, unlucky whales, and dolphins, and all this extra, and there's no homes out there. It's what the planet has been like for probably millions or billions of years. And as I'm coming in the shore, I get this extraordinary feeling of, oh my God, I'm at the right place at the right time in my life. And that happens every single time.
In the tech world, there's this huge disconnect. Right? There's this drive towards productivity. It's all about innovation. It's all about being first, moving fast. But this idea of taking care of yourself so that you can do that remains elusive to so many people. Why the disconnect? Silicon Valley is surrounded by water.
Humanity, in my view, is at a precipice. On one hand, we are on a completely unsustainable path. No one will argue that point. Back when I was on Dr. Richard Leakey's board, we were hoping before the Paris Climate Agreement, we would never reach 400 parts per million of CO2 in our atmosphere. I believe we're over 409 right now. We will have over $300 billion alone in 2017 just to provide restitution for the hurricane in Texas, the hurricane in Florida, and the hurricane in Puerto Rico. That's $300 billion. And if you sort of look at that trajectory, it's hard to see how we don't provide better and more opportunities for future generations to come. That bothers me. That, on the other side, is counterbalanced with a new awakening in a wave around innovation. And I believe deeply that the way out of this, I talk about this precipice, it starts with this inner being, but more importantly, it is about tapping the greatest talent that our species has. And that is this ability to create. Like no other species on the planet. That is an extraordinary talent. However, very, very few of us have the opportunity to think about how to exploit and tap and develop that opportunity. We go around the world like zombies and conformists. We do the same types of things. And Dr. Eagleman spoke at my class at Stanford, and he did a study of the human brain at 2 years old. And it was lit up like a Christmas tree. The number of neurons and the network that you have at 2, it took a snapshot of the same human being at 50 years old. It's half of what it was. A way to solve for this problem is through basically tapping into this extraordinary creative spirit. And it is about through really driving extraordinary innovation, because what the world's comprised of today are these bad companies out there. Not all of them, but a great majority of them are. They have shitty products that aren't good for your body, that aren't good for the planet, that aren't good for you, and it's very corrosive. And the way to solve for that, it certainly isn't government. It's through a groundswell of awakening and new thinking that, to me, starts with this concept of the basic ingredient is water. And so it's using that foundation to completely cause an awakening in the human conscious that I think we're going to tip into that side. And that's what I think is the opportunity that we have here, which to do something that puts humanity on the most extraordinary cycle of creativity and innovation that inspires, that uplifts anyone, and tips this pyramid of all this money flowing to these top shitty corporations into a more distributed fashion where it truly delivers quality of life and value, where we lift everyone up and experience this extraordinary opportunity to revamp our educational systems and taking care of our precious resources. And it all starts with water. My big dream is that in my lifetime, we can basically clean up our oceans. And hopefully, we can completely clean all of our wild waters and turn them back to their natural native state. That would be an extraordinary, extraordinary opportunity and dream.
The next book that I'm working on is called Live Blue, which is how we will take Blue Mind, how we can take Blue Mind and make it part of all of our lives. So Blue Mind for all is basically the mantra. But the book looks at this relationship to water through what I call the 7 ages of water. It all begins, for all of us, with birth. And so we all spent, so conception happens in the water. The life that we start begins in water. And we all spent 9 months swimming around, don't remember a lot of it, underwater in the dark. And then birth happens. And that is the exit from the water to the air, to the land.
Cycling back to that early period in my life, a little bit challenging, but I can sort of stitch together what I think. Grew up on the East Coast. My dad has always been a man of the water. It's been a central part of my entire existence and being. Was greatly influenced with his type of thinking and having that opportunity to be exposed to the magic of water and that magic lifestyle. I have 2 younger daughters, and I'm about to be a grandfather for the very first time. So thinking about that experience from the vantage point that I have, and thinking about he's now living in water and surviving in water, and have been encouraging my daughter to have a water birth.
Water birth, yeah.
And beginning to do probably what my dad did for me, is sort of sharing his life and his activities to this deep, deep connection to the water. And both my daughters surf and love the water and want to sort of continue this type of thinking and this magic experience of what the really water has from probably before birth through the birth process and throughout the entire cycle of life.
Yeah, it's our birth story is one of the most important stories we tell, that origin story, whether it's about ourselves or about the founding of a company, or the founding of an idea, or and I think back, people sometimes ask, where did the idea for Blue Mind come from? And there's a birth story, there's an origin story, and it really is one of the most powerful stories we carry.
Yeah.
So we go from birth, and the next age is play. And play is a lifelong activity, better be, right? Or ideally it is. But we usually associate play with kids. And we know that through play, we learn, but our brains also develop better when we play more as kids. So kids that don't get to play have less neurological development, less cognitive development. How does that work in your life?
So I'll share another story with you. For one of the more I think an important set point in my life that shaped my journey. 1973, I was 12 years old, and my family and I took a cross-country trip in a 1967 Pontiac Tempest in a Starcraft trailer, and he happened to get a site right on a bluff in San Diego, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And I remember waking up that morning, and I felt differently. And I remember coming out of the camper and looking off this vista. It's this extraordinary view of the Pacific Ocean. And I, to this day, don't know what it is, but the vibe of California, the energy of the Pacific Ocean just changed my life. And at 12 years old, I remember looking at my mother, telling her, the first opportunity I get, I'm moving here to California.
Oh, yeah.
It has been such a core central ingredient, and it literally runs through my soul, runs through my veins, runs through my body. And that play side, I think, shaped me in a unique way, and I think it shapes children in a unique way, which is there's nothing more awe-inspiring than nature, and particularly the water, and particularly the ocean. And it teaches you things that another human being can't teach. The power, the beauty of nature, and get you out of this thing where it's all about me and my toy, this or that, and it puts you into this entirely different experience that changes you in a way that makes you a better human being.
Yeah, it's humbling.
It's incredibly humbling.
Yeah.
And it puts you onto this entirely different track about, wow, of purpose, a deeper purpose. And it's hard to sort of understand, articulate that at 6 or 7 years old or even 10 years old, but to this day I sort of look back on that and see how it played such a critical role in my life.
Yeah. Some kids have very little play and very little awe in their lives,
Yeah.
and that feels smaller. It feels unfortunate, and it makes me want to make sure no kid has a childhood that's free of awe and play and wonder.
If you think about the water, and it touches not only all of your 5 senses, it touches your 6th sense. It touches your soul. You and I have talked about this extensively, but it's where you go to think. It's where you go to meditate. It's where you go to find centeredness in your life. It's where you go to find clarity. In difficult times in your life, in the best times in your life. You go there to vacation. It's so powerful and so magical in its ability to impact humanity in a way that no other element, no other compound can do. It's there. We're 60% water. The planet's 70% water. And it will waken up to that understanding and that deep feeling. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
It
So
really
that
is.
segues really nicely into what I refer to as the 3 middle ages of the 7 ages of water. And those are the lover, the fighter, and the justice. And that's like the meat of our active adult life. But the lover is when we fall in love with people, places, and big ideas that we then fight for. We fight for those ideas and those places and those people, or we work for them and we serve them. The fighter is about serving what we love.
To me, it starts with this, and I've evolved quite a bit as a human being. As I said in our talk today, I'm far from perfect. I think about the trajectory of my life, and it really hasn't been till these later stages where my life has taken on more meaning. I think a much deeper meaning with much deeper, richer contours. And the love element of that is all about understanding that your time here in this body is limited. And when you start to understand that, then it really boils down into how are you going to invest your time? What types of things do you want to accomplish? And for me, love starts with this concept of loving yourself. And it starts with this ability to understand of bringing this incredibly rich, positive energy into the world. That I want to connect with other positive energy sources. Hopefully my positive energy source will impact people that maybe aren't feeling so positive that day, can find some inspiration. And from that, you work through an incredible journey of finding the soulmate of your life. And that for me was early on in my life, my last year of college, meeting my wife and finding someone who also lived in New Haven, Connecticut, right on the water. The thing that connected us was the water. You know, we loved to go to the beach in West Haven, Connecticut, where my wife grew up. It binded us together. Fell madly in love. Saw a lot of the world the same way. I had a partner in crime, and from there, you know, having our first daughter, Alexandra. Then our second daughter came along. She was born here in Santa Cruz. And we lived over on 49th Avenue across from Shadowbrook. Our entire life was integrated with water here in the Pacific Ocean. That just deepens your love, you know, to have this connection that I was born with, such a monumental component of my life, and then that caring and then connecting with another kindred spirit, my wife, who shared that same passion for the water. And then being able to connect that with our daughters, and now with this new grandson who's coming.
And I think that transition between the lover and the fighter, you know, they don't happen sequentially. They kind of braid together, and clearly have love for your family and love for the water, but you need to fight for that, right? You need to maybe fight's not always the right word, but you strive for it.
Yeah.
You need to do things that allow for you to take care of your family and to make sure you're able to have the access to what you love on the coast, whether it's financial striving or just getting it, packing up and getting in the car. It takes a little work. So before we get to sort of the Zentrepreneur enlightened version of Toby, what did you love that you look back and say, well, that might have been not the best choice of what to align my passion with? Like, what were the mistakes? We also sometimes fall in love and fight for things that kind of suck and are maybe not proud of.
Yeah.
So let's go there a little bit.
Yeah. So to be honest, and love transparency and candidness and honesty, and that's where the real lessons come in life, as we both know. As I reflect back on my time, I think, and you and I share this point of view that the pace of life is accelerating, largely, and the downside of that is that our brains are going through a heavy dose of pollution. And it's increasing at a rapid rate. So, I came up through the tech ranks and, was basically a victim of that, so to speak, and really got, wrapped up in my job and my career. And I just believe that one of the things that I was trying to solve for was this concept of financial independence, so that if I didn't want to work, I didn't have to, and can do what I want with my time. In that narrow view of it, it's a pretty selfish point of view.
Right.
It's me. It's all about what I want to do. And I sort of look back on that and go, wow, was that the best use of my time and energy? And it's more about, you learn more from the mistakes that you make in life. Those are the things that end up being set points in your life. So I don't regret them. It's never too late to change anything in your life. And if you live your life too much with regrets, and that's when death becomes a very fearful thing. I know we're going to talk about the death part, and I don't want to get ahead of myself and get ahead of my skis. But so I would say that having a closed mind, being not the kind of giving person that I would really want to be, could have been a lot more respectful of the planet, and just a bigger, broader sort of mission and vision in life. I lacked that at that early stage of my life. Yeah. To be honest with you, I think that I'm working to try and get there. I'm not there yet. I'm not where you are right now. I think that's why we connect, and you've had such a big influence on my life, as other important people have, is when you have that eureka moment, and then it becomes really crystal clear. So I'm still on that journey. I have lots of thoughts on how I can have that kind of impact. How do we inspire and spark and get that clarity, right? So I'm evolving. I think I'm farther than I was 6 months ago when you and I first met, without a doubt. It's becoming clearer for me. And like anything, things happen because of authenticity. Things happen because you can expose a broader journey to humanity. And the most powerful things are when you get there on your own journey. So you find these right influencers in your life. They shape you. They shape your thinking. They help you think outside the box. And I think the magic is when you can cut your own path. That's when extraordinary things begin to happen. So I've learned all this stuff. I've worked with these really great people. I've synthesized some of my own thinking, my own thoughts, and then I'm able to basically coalesce that into, I see my path right now. And I think that we're at a state of sort of human consciousness right now where that precipice and that tide is moving in the right direction. I get to teach at Stanford and interact with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds and see how they think about the world. And they're vastly different than when I was growing up. The things that they think about, things that are important, the companies that they want to work for, the kind of companies that they want to start, radically different than where things were in the 20th century. 21st century, I think, has got a tremendous amount of promise. And I want to be part of the solution. I want to be a catalyst. I want to be someone who can drive the right kind of message to inspire and to help humanity tap this extraordinary gift that we all have of creativity, and how to use that and channel that in a way that has never been done before. Yeah, and so this concept of a Zentrepreneur.
Well, that fits right into the next age of water, which is the justice, right? So the lover, the fighter, and the justice. That's the big, long, meaty age where you're creative. That's the entrepreneurial age. It's when you are most responsible for people and the future. and you're carrying the weight. So you're carrying, whether it's your family, your household, your business, your decisions are more impactful on more people. And so doing that day in and day out it takes bandwidth, cognitive bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, which wears you out, tires you down. You need also to be able to sleep well and come back restored every day. And if you have sleep deprivation, your cognitive ability will start to slip. Your IQ actually is measurably lower on many days of sleep deprivation. And so what's your advice to people who are in this age that we call the justice and through the water lens? So how can water play a role in enhancing creativity, maintaining that level-headed responsibility?
The first of that starts with, don't take yourself too seriously, and be aware of the ego. And when you start from that center, that centeringness. You can laugh at yourself, make fun of yourself, laugh at the world, and you can see the ego for what it is and can step away from that. The entire world changes. So you were incredibly gracious and gave me this incredible opening of this storied career and places you've worked and things that you've done. I'm humbled by that, but from where I'm sitting at this point in my life right now, those accolades are meaningless except for one thing. They are a platform, and what I've learned is that it's a platform for me to go out and allow my voice to impact the world in a certain way. So all it is basically is it's a channel, and it's something that I don't care about what I've done or my ego, but more importantly, want to share my point of view, want to continue to expand my point of view, expand as a human being and as a person. I'm actually, at this point of this justice phase, probably the most inspired I've been in my entire life. How do you use that in a really powerful way that's not about Toby Cory, that's about people and humanity and existing in future generations, that it's not about me, it's about you and the planet and all of that. Exactly. It all comes back down to this magic ingredient of water. And the way that you get into that frame of mind and that thinking is by connecting with water, being in or around water. And it has basically, that's been the ingredient it's always played a central role in my life, and we've talked about all the stories around that. But that one element has gotten me to where I'm at today. And this type of thinking of how to deliver a message in there that, number one, is going to be modern. It's going to be fresh. It's really going to resonate with people in a way that gets them thinking in a way they weren't thinking before. And then more importantly, hopefully then that leads to, wow, I'm going to move and shift my energy and my activities into an entirely different direction. Even if it's a modicum or a small amount. How to impact the lives of hopefully billions of people. And that's my goal.
Somebody's listening to us right now and they're saying, I get the water thing, I don't live where you live. I live in the middle of the country, I live in the middle of the desert, I live in the middle of the city, and I wish the waves were breaking over my shoulder like they are for us right now. Give them some inspiration.
So there's a few things that they can do. I think just continue. Obviously, if they're watching this, then they've already taken a super important step. They're already 80 or 90% already there. They're opening up their mind. They're seeing what we see, and able to share that, and able to connect with that. Begin to read a new book that's coming out in Blue Mind, and all of the contributions around this extraordinary new secret that we're trying to expose to the world. There are lots of ways to participate, but more importantly, and you talked a lot about this, is that wild water is everywhere. The ocean's awesome. It's certainly special. I'm in love with it, but I'm in love with all water. All wild water, fresh natural stream, a lake. There's wild water everywhere on our planet, in Arizona, in Hawaii, Tennessee, you name it, it's there. Probably within less than an hour's drive from anywhere, everyone. And many of them probably already are connected, they just don't know it. They took that drive to that park or that campsite or that hike, or got in the car with the kids. It probably involves somewhere in some lake or wild stream or river. And so when you start to become aware of that, it becomes the magic of your soul.
And the prioritizing
And
it.
prioritize that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you become enlightened,
right.
and then you want more of it. But then now you're becoming part of the converted, and then you sort of share all that love and knowledge with your children and future generations to come, just like I'm doing,
Right.
and that's the magic and the possibility. And certainly most people, I think, typically will end up vacationing, on or around water, and to not just go there and suck down, 7 or 8 Mai Tais, that's cool too, love to do that, but more importantly, when wow, it has a deeper meaning to it. Yeah, it's a vacation, but it really is all about an awakening, a new energy level that's inspiring me, that's changing my life in a fundamental way where I'm becoming awakened and can make greater contributions and feel a lot more fulfilled.
And I think you make a good point. It's a lot of time the pushback on this is, okay, you guys are sort of middle-aged white guys in California, and you have access to
Right.
Blue Mind, and I don't. And I think your point is extremely valid. The water's everywhere. You need to seek it out. It isn't always in the best shape, but you should fight for getting it into better shape. And anywhere you are across our nation, around the world, there's an option. A lot of people don't feel like they have the luxury of time to even begin to do it, but it's about shifting the priority and saying, okay, we're going to take our one weekend off that we have over the course of many months and save up and do this thing because it's that important and prioritizing, but it is available.
It is, and I would add a third thing to it, which can be done anywhere, which I do every single day. I have a fountain in my yard, and it's this cool little Buddha guy, and but it's just that motion and energy of the water flowing through that. And every day I write in my journal. I write the things that I'm grateful for. I write about my affirmations, my centering affirmation for the day, things that are going on in my mind right now. That inspiration comes through water. If I have the benefit, I'll do my writing here, but when I get up in the morning and have my coffee, it's the first thing that I want to do. So my soul and my mind and my body are deeply connected to water. It allows me to unlock my subconsciousness, it allows me to unlock my soul, and to basically not turn the TV on, not pick up your cell phone, check your Facebook or your Twitter feed or your email. It's like relax in the calmness and the serenity of the morning. Literally, if you can't be in or around the water, get a fountain for your bedroom or one out in your yard, and get your journal out. And that, to me, has been the most powerful thing that I've recently started doing.
Right. Sometimes it's small water, sometimes it's big water, sometimes it's medium water, and that small water is in our homes, right? You got a sink. That means you can get that fountain set up. You probably have a shower, maybe a bathtub. That's all there for us, right? So we in the U.S. at least sometimes take that for granted, but that small water can be a path to our Blue Mind, at least on a daily basis. Have you done float therapy? Tried those float tanks? So that's for increasing numbers of communities. That's an option as well. And again, there's a price tag to it, but my sense of it is that it's a pretty good bang for the buck. At least the first few times you try it, it opens up an insight into yourself that was largely unavailable without that particular combination of technology and water.
And even when you don't have that physical element, it can be introduced in your life even through synthetic waves that have kind of the same impact on your body, right? So most of the time we've had the benefit to go for a nice massage. A lot of kind of the meditation music is a running stream. Or there's a water component to that.
You've also tried sound bathing.
Sound immersion,
sound bath.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's awesome. So that also is incredibly spiritual, and you go into a room, the lights are dimmed really low, you're laying on a really nice comfortable rug, and you bring your blanket, and it literally is vibration, and it's gongs, it's didgeridoo, and singing bowls, and there are rain sticks in there. This guy Danny Goldberg that lives up here in the Bay Area, they're so inspirational, and he's able to simulate water in a most extraordinary way, like I'm in the water. And the energy that's flowing through the room with these instruments and the vibration that they're making really feels like the wave and the crescendo and the decrescendo effect that's going through you. And it literally electrifies your soul. And I feel that, I literally feel like I'm floating in water.
So let's move to what is the second to last age, the sixth age, which I refer to as ebb and flow. And that's where, doesn't always occur in this chronological order, but ebb and flow is where we often get smacked back, where there's a disease, a disorder, an injury, a crash of some sort. Typically it's later in life, but it can happen at any point in our lives. And will is inevitable. And water becomes a balm. Water becomes therapeutic as medicine. So water becomes medicine.
At this point in my life, I'm experiencing an ebb like I've never felt in my entire life before. It has been I now know what post-traumatic stress disorder feels like. It's incredibly traumatic. Two things happen when occurs in your life. Either you let that event destroy you, you let that event absolutely ruin your life, and you let that event take control of you, or you find a new path and a new journey that builds incredibly deep, rich contours in your life, what I call the root structure. And the bigger the tree, the bigger the root structure that it has. Those are the negative ebbs of your life that truly build richness to your life and contours. As difficult as they are, as emotional as they are, I've always prided myself on making lemonade out of lemons, no matter what gets thrown my way. This has definitely been the biggest challenge in my life. And the hardest part that I'm going through right now is that I'm learning how to be in the passenger seat. I'm learning these concepts called surrendering. And I talk about presence all the time. It has very little meaning till you really, really understand what it means. When the future's so unknown and you're faced with something that is impacting a loved one in your family, and you're watching them go through that, you're connected to it in the deepest way possible. And knowing that, dude, you can't wave a magic wand right now and fix this like you did the rest of your life. It is so humbling, and it's created this vacuum that either can be filled with new experiences and a new journey that makes you bigger, that fills you in a positive way, or not. The most important medicine or therapy that's getting me through this is water. You know, I love surfing. Surfing's my zen. An opportunity when the shit starts to hit the fan, I can find my therapy. I can recenter myself. I can rebalance myself. I'm feel blessed that water has always had this magic, been this magic ingredient in my life. And now in times of need, in times of stress, it's a blessing. I honestly don't know how I'd be managing through this without it today.
Yeah, makes you want to make sure everybody else knows about this medicine.
It's deeper now. There are much deeper contours. I talk about, this cliche, make every minute of your life count because life's finite. Well, it's easy to say when you're in the driver's seat of your life. Try saying that when you're in a passenger seat of your life, when you're powerless in a situation. It takes an entirely different meaning. I've chosen to find, one is that we're focused on getting through this and seeing the other side, and also understanding that there is a greater force in life that we will never understand in this body. We're all connected to it, we're all part of it, but we chose to enter these bodies, and there were some rules in doing that. You have to surrender, to that, and there's a purpose and a meaning that you may never understand in your life. But the opportunity is that, how do I become a better version of me? How do I take this circumstance and this event that's going on in my life right now and channel that into a positive? And it has had such profound impact on me. And that, combined with this extraordinary love and ability to be on and around the water, those two things clearly have had the most impact on my life as I sit here talking to you right now today. Probably the most profound.
Yeah. The last and least popular of the 7 ages of water is death. It is probably closest to birth of all of the other ages. And it is
a full circle, isn't it?
It is, it is the last story we tell is the one about our end game and how we go out and what we leave in terms of instructions for the disposal of our physical body, or the memorialization of our lives. And for many people, that is also a water story. There's here in Santa Cruz, a paddle out, a memorial paddle out is a tradition not uncommon that people say, I would like my ashes scattered over the water, or gather in my name by the water, play music, but do it by the water.
Yeah.
So this water connection, even in death, is so powerful.
Mortality has become more real for me, given my personal circumstance right now today. And I don't think you can fully understand or appreciate it till you're walking in someone's shoes that is faced with a serious medical issue that could end their human life. I read this great book by Osho called Fear, and one of the things that really resonated with me in there was that the way to combat this end of life as we know it, first and foremost, is I believe that life is infinite. And I sort of look at the majesty of the universe and just the universe that we know of. And that wasn't created out of randomness. It's just our planet. You look at the complexity of our planet, the beauty of our planet, and the diversity of life. And it's hard to say, did this really happen out of randomness? It's really hard to conceptualize that. There has got to be something larger out there. Call it God, call it Buddha. Energy is perpetual. Can't be created, and it can't be terminated. And I believe that our soul is comprised of this energy of the universe, of this energy of a source, of a higher being. We have this privilege to live this experience here, but life is infinite, and life is really glorious. And I think that the key of it is to remove that fear. So death doesn't become a horrific, sad thing. How does death become a celebration of life? How does death become something really extraordinary? If you are truly living your life without regrets, and again, there's certain regrets, I'm far from perfect, but I don't really regret everything. I'm living my life to the fullest. And always looking at how do I challenge, how to expand my boundaries. And if you truly subscribe to that, then when that time comes, you just understand it's a transition time. And it is an opportunity to really celebrate this extraordinary life and these extraordinary contributions that you were able to make. And a lot of Buddhism does talk about this concept of the sadness comes from the clinging on to these material things in life. And the one thing we sure know is for sure is that all things change. This planet at some point in time is going to cease to exist. Our star and sun that we love so much is going to go supernova at some point in time, and it's going to blow this planet up. So all things go through a cycle of life. But when you understand that life is truly perpetual, and life is truly infinite, and life is truly glorious, and you can start to sort of wrap your head around this concept. But it does inspire you. It creates these deep contours to provide maybe a wake-up call, maybe a sense of urgency in your mind that, wow, there's a real opportunity that I have here, and I want to use that time really wisely. How to basically make a better version of yourself every day, how to contribute in a way that goes beyond just you or me to something much, to a higher calling, right? Yeah. And water's the central element of that. Yeah. It really is.
It is. And I think even with all of that thoughtful preparation, there's grief, there's loss, there's sorrow throughout our lives, and we can take it to the water. It doesn't fix everything just like that, but it will soothe our souls when we need it to.
Yeah. Well, I think what it ultimately ends up doing is that, whether I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle's books, Power of Now and A New Earth, and love Buddhism and Zen and Taoism, and all of those concepts teach this element of creating space. And this brain of yours is it's good for some things. It's really good for not touching a hot stove, keeping you alive, helping you make some kind of more logical, smart decisions, and it's really bad in a lot of other things. So your body's has got this somatic intelligence to it. It's extraordinary how it can function, and your body and your organs and your heart and all of that has this unique intelligence to survive. Outside from that, then the mind can also be a very destructive element. And water is one of the most, I think, probably the most powerful agent that helps to deconstruct the mind where it's not beneficial at all, where the ego wants to take over. It's all about you and the ego and pumping that up. And when you can step outside of that and create this concept of space, to me, water is the greatest agent and the most incredible resource I think it's the most powerful thing to create that space.
Yeah.
And you're right, grief is inevitable. We're human. And these emotions are awesome. They're great to have them. The highs and the lows, and you're going to have them all. Water is a unique medicine that can create that space, that can relieve that grief, that can have you thinking in a broader, much richer, deeper contour mindset. I know of no other, sort of agent or compound that has that ability or that kind of power.
Yeah. Toby, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Pleasure.
much, buddy. Yeah.
That was an amazing conversation with Toby Cory. Really rich, really interesting, and very personal. So take what you've learned from Toby and apply it to your life in whatever way makes sense. And share this Blue Mind message far and wide. Everybody needs more Blue Mind in their life. And get ready for the next episode. It's a good one.